Oh yeah, right here, right now it is the League Nutz Finals weekend. Right here, right now, I welcome you to this week in League Nutz as the season is just about at its completion. Of course, if you're in the finals and you've got the top seed and you're the host of the show, right here from League headquarters, which is my house, but you gotta suit up, right? Got to go with the old bar mitzvah suit. Your Sunday's best. Whatever you want to call it. The monkey suit. You know it. I am ready to rock and roll. I'm Matt Levine. Thank you so much for being with me again on this week in League Nutz. What are we going to do? Talk about the final. The two teams in the finals. We'll explain how they got there. What was just a wild week in more ways than one. Really scary week in NFL football, which you saw real football translate into fantasy football, and just a strange week. But here we are, right here, right now. Yours truly, getting ready. The top seed going to take on these guys right here. How about Polk High? Getting there by way of the victory, in a sense. It was punched through, 110-83. Nutztown with the win. You got it, 264-169 over Fox. So the mighty Dodge, what a late season surge. Let the flames erupt. Incredible rally at the end of the year for Polk High, the two-time champ. Talk more about that in a little bit. His historical presence in League Nutz, as well as yours truly, gets in there with 3 straight wins. Juggled the quarterback all season long, found the right formula. He's there, earned his way there. Right, with the convincing 110-83 victory over AB's Painted Helmet, who had just a great season. I'm going to talk about a buzzkill and a half, and just really a heartbreaker for AB's and really anyone who had anything involved with fantasy football and what it meant. Just, as I said, real stuff happening this week that translated into fantasy football. You don't want the two to mix in any such way. But AB's Painted Helmet comes up short. I was able to throttle the win over fantastic Mr. Fox. Pulled that one out of you-know-what. But Keldar, where's my mind? Polk High School, they won 3 straight. Keldar lost 3 straight to not make the playoffs. Polk High wins 3 straight. They've now won 2 straight, so that's 5 straight. With the win over AB's Painted Helmet, they end his 7-game win streak. And I've won 3 straight with my semifinal win, or my round 2 win. Ended the season having won 2 straight after losing 1. And before that, I was on the 9-game win streak. So what am I getting at? It's been a season full of streaks in League Nutz, hasn't it? Well, am I wearing suit pants and dress shoes? I'll tell you next season. Or you have to read the book one day. Let's not digress. Let's talk about the fantasy football meeting reality. Now, scary situation, right? Monday Night Football. I mean, I was as tuned in as anyone because I wanted to see what happened between the two teams here respectfully competing, right? 109-70. You had Polk High leading ABs, the sibling battle, the Garter Brothers Bowl. So you had a 39-point lead, but, that's nail-biting territory because for Polk High School, he had Chase for Cincinnati, who is playing host to the Buffalo Bills, going. And then in the top right corner, couldn't fit everything in one, so I condensed. He had McPherson, the kicker. So Polk had 2 Cincinnati players. AB's had maybe the possible MVP of the season, Burrow. Mixon, another all-pro type running back. And, of course, the all-everything, one of the great wide receivers in the game, Diggs. So, basically, a clear chance at victory for AB's. No doubt about that. 7 minutes into this game, thereabouts, right? think it was 7 minutes. Unfortunately, Buffalo's DeMar Hamlin, and I'm sure you've seen the video. I won't show more than I have to here, but went in for just a routine tackle, and there you see what happened. He passed out or convulsed, just got up and fell down, and my immediate thought was this football player is having a heart attack. And the game stopped and never resumed, and he collapsed, as you see in the headlines right there. There's the New York Daily News headline, when the NFL stopped, literally. There's Bank of America Ballpark in Cincinnati. They had that tribute to Hamlin, and the Bills players and the coaches and Cincinnati players, they were terrified, rightfully so. He was convulsing on the field, and the game never resumed. And the NFL has now canceled the game officially as of today, right? And unfortunately, AB's never had a chance to come back. So Polk High School was up convincingly there, but there was a night of football ahead, and Polk High School wins 109-70. That's just bad luck for AB's painted helmet. I'm sure this would have been a tremendous matchup between two teams who were sizzling hot. So I feel for AB's, if I was in his position, there's no way I'd be able to do this show right now. I'm telling you. Things would have been flying. But he handled it with sportsmanship. No surprise there. And we were able to come to somewhat of a come to somewhat of a revelation and a way to resolve this matter. Let me get the box up. Because we were thinking, what do you do? And then Polk and AB's came to the agreement where Polk would replace two players for his Bengals with his two highest scorers off the bench, right? And, I'm noticing that's the wrong bench, man. All right, let's take this out. Let's not show you that bench. What bench? They would go to their bench. They would take the three highest scorers for ABs, the three highest for Polk, and the deal is that Polk wound up coming out victorious. So that was the most amicable way that we can solve this, kind of on the fly. And then we didn't know until today, right, that the game would never be played ever again, which I thought would be the reasonable way the NFL, the route that they would take. So that game will never happen. As for Hamlin, and miraculously, and I was praying for this and hoping that he would make a miraculous recovery, and he's starting to. I guess he was able to FaceTime his teammates today, and he was able to write, thoughts out. He's moving his fingers, his extremities, his toes. So you pray for the kid, and that's just an awful situation. As scary as anything I've ever seen in any sport, probably since Hank Gathers. That dates me. The Loyola Marymount basketball player. He was going to be a great NBA pro. That team would score like 165 points a game. Paul Westhead was the coach. They would zip up and down the court, and he played with Bo Kimball. That was his best friend from Philadelphia. And he was a junior set to go to the NBA. He was leading the NCAA in rebounds and scoring, or at least I think he was second to Kimball, something like that. But he passed out and died on the court with a heart attack. March Madness back in early 90s, I want to say. So that situation I remember, but nothing like that I'd ever seen. And why it happened, that'll be determined. But you can only speculate, and you can only hope that he gets better, which he is. He's on the road to recovery. And you talk about a sentimental favorite and a team that might just rally behind this kid, and they were dangerous enough as it is. You don't want to give them a reason. They didn't want this reason, we know that, but it is what it is now. Those Buffalo Bills, they're going to be absolutely dangerous. So really just a blankety-blank situation for ABs, but it is what it is. And if someone was telling me that right now, I'd probably throw something at the monitor. But anyway, that's the victory, 110-83. Polk gets the win, and he gets himself a Whoa Bundy! How about it? You know, for Polk, even though this game didn't have all its participants complete, the box, as I mentioned, Justin Fields, the big guy for him, no surprise there. 23 points, as he was just a great pickup right after Halloween for Polk, getting the job done for the Chicago Bears. Here's some highlights against the Lions. Unfortunately, he's not going to play this weekend because he's injured, right? So, in addition to Fields getting 23, Ezekiel Elliott, a sluggish 9. But Algier, the running back in Atlanta, has been great. He got 16. Myers in New England, pass catcher. He was able to come with a sweet 16 of his own. Kittle, a 13. And the Jacksonville defense, how about that? 17 points. So, Polk's players were able to do enough to hold on to that lead. And again, they win this matchup against AB's Painted Helmet. And we just had a great, great season and certainly had a chance to maybe run the table. Let's take a look at the playoffs. There's Jim Mora animated right there. He was animated as an animated figure and as a real-life figure. But I got the first round bye, right? AB's got the first round bye. Polk was able to knock off Del Rey by 50 to get into the second round. Smash U upset by Fantastic Fox, 146-126. And then last week, in my contest against Fantastic Fox, well, it's pretty damn simple how I was able to get to victory, isn't it? I think it was, at least. It was really just a one-show pony last week, and the name of that one-show pony, well, you may have guessed it. Mike Evans, how the hell are you? There wasn't anything Mike Evans couldn't do against the Carolina Panthers on the football field last week, and from the bottom of my heart, the Nutztown Destroyers thank you, Mike Evans. Matt Levine personally thanks you. He went wild. 10 catches, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a partridge and a pear tree. 73 points. Whew. I won by 74. What do you think the difference was? Should I talk about anyone else? No, I don't think I need to. But he had a tremendous day, obviously. And you know what? Fox had a great run at the end of the season himself. On a little bit of a streak. And usually 170 is a pretty awesome day. And you'll beat anyone on any given Sunday. But he ran into a buzzsaw called Mike Evans. I might run into a buzzsaw called Mike Evans this week, based on the Bucks being so good last week that they clinched the AFC South. And Evans might get a little bit of a day at the beach on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. We'll talk more about that. But that was basically all that I needed right there. Mahomes came through with 35, McCaffrey 36. Ayuk, which always makes me say bless you for some reason. He had 38. Judy was able to come through with what, 10? Okay, well, I'm talking about Judy. 11, partisan for Kelsey, but all the way across the board, I picked up New England's defense off the waiver wire. They scored a defensive touchdown against Miami. They had a dozen, and I had the total team effort. But again, the game changer for me and leading me into the finals was that guy right there who's going to be wearing a gold jacket one day and be enshrined into Canton's Football Hall of Fame. So Mike Evans, my stud on Sunday. Again, thank you, Mr. Evans, for doing such great things for those Nutztown Destroyers. Let's take a look at the schedule, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of this and that. We'll preview the final, of course, between Polk High and the Nutztown Destroyers. Talk about the historical rivalry, if you want to call it that. A little teaser there between these two squads. And we'll talk about the Nutztown Destroyers and his all-time mark in League the Nuts. And we'll highlight Polk High's historical run as a potential GOAT. He wins this weekend. I don't think he's going to win. But if he wins this weekend, he is the GOAT, right? Because he's the first to 3 titles. You've got Polk, Keldar, Smash, Loopy's Legends. They're all 2-time champs. And then you got a string of one-offers, including Fox, who won it as a rookie in 2018. By the way, the last Nuts League the Nuts champion, because we had a little bit of a hiatus, right, was back in 2019, and it belongs to Smash. You see Polk had a 3rd-place finish there. Smash won it with a 9-5 mark. Polk was 8-6, and Smash beat Keldar, who was 11-3. So that's our last champion. So technically, and after this weekend, he'll no longer Smash be the reigning champion. But again, he's part of a select club of 4 League the Nuts teams that have won 2 championships. How about that? Bringing his stats up the old wazoo this week. The NFL calendar, okay? Plan accordingly. There's my big game tomorrow. That is my Super Bowl. 4:30. I cannot wait. Now, Polk only has 1 participant. He has the Jaguars defense against Tennessee. That's the nightcap tomorrow. I've got the 1-2 of Kelsey and Mahomes, or Mahomes and Kelsey, going against the Las Vegas Raiders at 4:30. And then everything else goes to Sunday. A handful of those games will be played late. Big ones for Polk and yours truly will include that San Francisco, Arizona game, Washington, Dallas. I've got Sanders against the Giants. That's big for me. I've got Judy against the Chargers. And then I know if you go on down the line, Green Bay, you got the Watkins kid for Polk. So we've got all kinds of action going on Sunday, and that's the way it should be. This season, as for the points, Polk finished, what was he? 12, 11, 10, 9 in the points. I was number 1. But here we are now, right? So what does that matter? I guess it really doesn't. It's the 2 teams that get to the final weekend, however you get there. If you won 8, you won 12, doesn't matter, right? Just got to get to the final and find a way to get one more win. Any given team on any given fantasy, Saturday or Sunday, sometimes Thursday and Monday, has a shot. Now, let's talk about some of the historical ties between these 2 teams. The most current matchup was back in Week 10. I pulled off the victory, but not by much, right? And right now, if I look at it, by the way, the line has been changing. So if I take a look at the line right now, it started out as 12 yesterday. And I saw it was down to about 5. And that's where it is. So it's projected for 148, 143. Nutztown is a 5-point favorite. And if you look at the last matchup, it makes sense. Very close. Look how great Fields was, right? Bested Mahomes. Man, you look at that tight end matchup. I'm going to talk more about that right there in a moment. I think it's going to be clutch. Come this final. But in Week 10, it really wasn't that big of a difference, although it helped give me the 6-point win. So winning the tight end battle helped me win the overall battle. But you see in that lineup, there will be some changes. There's no doubt about that. For instance, I just picked up Mitchell off the waiver today. threw him in. It's a God forbid McCaffrey doesn't play pickup. But I was able to get the victory. Evans, 63 less points on that day. Go figure, right? Kind of partisan stats. I love using that word, obviously. Across the line. McLaurin had a great day, 33. He was the best receiver by far. The quarterbacks, again, a wash. They were both tremendous. Tight end battle, I won handily. Everything else, the intangibles, pretty even. I don't have the kickers up there. No, I don't have the kickers. But defensive players even. Believe that Polk still has Franklin, Olakun, who has a chance to lead the league in tackles for the second straight year. That's still my guy. Defense is always shift. We know that, right? But that's how it ended in Week 10. Now, interestingly enough, I'm almost embarrassed to show this. But history needs to be talked about, dealt with. And you got to face the music. So, all time, Polk has just kicked the living you-know-what out of me. This year, I collected my first win. How about that against Polk? Last time we played in 2019, Polk won handily. So I got my first win. I got a 100 winning percentage against Polk, who has absolutely owned me. But does that matter? No. Take all the records, throw them out. What matters is the here and now. Or right here and now, as Van Halen sung. I'm a David Lee Roth guy. I like Sammy, but much rather prefer David Lee Roth. Now, the most one-sided series in NFL history. This is real football. I had to look this up, right? You see that Eagles, 10-0 against the Jets. How about that? I think I'm more like the Jaguars. Maybe Polk's more like the Patriots in League the Nuts. Yeah, he's got a chance to be the GOAT, like I mentioned. If you scroll about, I don't know, halfway down, below the Vikings, sandwich between the Vikes and the Packers, you see the Patriots. They're 10-1 against the Jaguars. And historically, I've kind of been like the Jacksonville Jaguars of League the Nuts, which I'll explain in a moment. Of course, I've got a library of clips this year. I've been able to clip together highlights, stuff that makes absolutely no sense, trivial stuff, all kinds of GIFs, all kinds of memes, all kinds of highlights, lowlights, and in between, and of course, Philly cheesesteak. So when you think of Philly, you think of the cheesesteak. And you think of the spatula with the cheese whiz. And maybe you think of Minshew when you think of Jacksonville, although now he's in Philly. He's not playing as well as he did when he had Magic in Jacksonville. Anyway, not much thought between those two teams and their rivalry, except in the annals of League the Nuts history and in the annals of NFL history, I think I'm very close to the one-sided series between the Philadelphia Eagles being Polk High School and yours truly being the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I really don't care about history, do I? Well, maybe. I want to change it. I want to rewrite it, and I want my own damn Nuts Cup. So historically, how have I done in League the Nuts? Not that well. I'm just like giving myself a meltsy. But things are going to change, folks. Things are going to change. Come this weekend, I hope so. Can't count those chickens, but I am hoping. All time, 62-80, 3 playoff appearances, 1 top 3 finish. I had my run as a 6-7 team a couple of years ago. Came up short in the final against Stinglings. That was 2017, right? So there you have it there. Game under 500. I made it all the way to the finals. And Dinglings took me out by, I want to say, 13 points. And what killed me that day was a player that was on Dinglings' final roster this year, Evan Ingram. for the Giants. We had a very close matchup, almost like Polk and I have. It was less than 10 points, the line, and Evan Ingram got hurt, I think, on the first or second play from me, my tight end, and he was averaging like a dozen points, and he was out the rest of the game. And I had a few other guys going, and they put up duds, and Ingram, he really, S the bed for me. But Dings had a great day. I forget who he had on his team. In fact, I tried to go look on ESPN when you get these clips right here. Where'd it go? When you get these. Tried to look on ESPN because they used to have all the matchups, the box scores of all the finals, but at least they give you this. So I'm looking to reverse history, right? I'm looking for, instead of this, I'm looking for that. And we'll see. It's been domination for Polk High School. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. There's a reason they play the game. And every team has an equal chance on any given Saturday, like I said, right? Saturday and Sunday of Week 18. Let's take a look at the matchup. So, that's what we've got kind of sort of right now. In fact, when I put this together a little bit, who knows, maybe the Polk changed his lineup. Let me pull up the ESPN as I talk with you guys so I can look at my bigger screen. Even though I wear glasses, I still feel like I'm pretty blind. I can't see that font. Anyway, I got to make it bigger and look on my own. So, taking a look at things, well, obviously we know that Gino's the quarterback now. That's not this week. That's hold on, guys. Hold a minute. Let's see. That's the wrong matchup. Son of a gun. Give me a second. Give me a second. All right. Let's see if I can do this. Sometimes when you want to add the ESPN pages, like a pop-up comes up, so I don't know if it'll allow me to do it. All right. Nope. See? The pop-up came up. Okay, anyway. I'm just going to look at it in real time with you guys as I talk. Meant to put a slide up, and I wanted to put the website, see? But I can't. So anyways, if I'm not looking in the camera, it's only because I'm looking at the monitor, I'm looking up the matchup, and I'm going to talk and roll some highlights as we do that. So, you got Geno Smith in for the injured Justin Fields. Unfortunately for Polk High School, he had like the dilemma of all time at quarterback. Started with Russell Wilson. Don't blame him. I think a lot of people in fantasy football, thought Russell Wilson could do big things. New start in Denver, whole new lease on life, but he flopped. However, Polk was able to stick with Geno early on, rode him here and there, and then was able again to pick up Fields late in the season. And was able to get that win streak going 3 in a row. In fact, in one of those games, Field has 51 points, but now he's got an injured hip. So he's not going to go this weekend. So instead, you're going to have Geno Smith going against Mahomes. Mahomes is just extraordinary. However, I think Geno's got a shot to play a pretty decent game. He's taking on the Rams. Probably put a high school football team here from Florida take on the Rams, who hardly look like a defending Super Bowl champion. More like a champion this year, but not their year. But you expect Geno to have a decent day, and that one is in Seattle, where the 12th man is always coming through with plenty of noise. Right? It's a hard place for anyone to play, especially a quarterback. Meanwhile, Mahomes is going to Las Vegas. There's going to be a lot of points. Some other guys in the mix in this one that I'm expecting could do some funky things. Well, you got the tight ends. I talked about it earlier. In the first matchup, as I mentioned, Kelsey had 6 receptions, about 80 yards, a touchdown, 20 points. Kittle, 1 catch, 20 yards. Kelsey played Jacksonville. Kittle was taking on the Chargers. However, I'm expecting a much, much better matchup between two guys who I think are clearly number 1 and 1A. That's how good Kittle is when he's on. And not injured, there's a lot of talent on both teams, obviously. They could meet up in the Super Bowl. They've got weapons all over the place. Both of our squads have some of their weapons. I'll talk more about that in a moment. But I'm thinking these two, they're bound to have a tight end battle of their own. I think it could absolutely, in Week 10, it kind of, sort of came down to the tight end if you look at the score and, analyze it like I did. So in the finals, you're damn right. I think this is going to be a huge, huge battle right here. Battle of K's, right? Kittle versus Kelsey. You see it right there, Kelsey, number 1, 23.3 a game. See, he's rostered. I always say, why aren't the players like him rostered 100%? Why isn't Kittle 100%? Kelsey is. Anyway, 14 points contest for Kittle. Both of them are capable of putting up, I don't know about Evans-like numbers, but they can hit the half-century mark. No doubt about that. Best game that Kittle had this season was, let's see, he had 42 2 weeks ago. He had 42 against Las Vegas. I told you. 42 against Washington in weeks ago. That was his best day of the year. 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, 120. Man, he's got. Okay, I think I bounced off for a minute, so hopefully I'm back on. I was talking about Kittle, and I was talking about Kelsey, and I was saying, as for Kelsey, best game he's had this season, he's had a couple of dandies, was 47 points back in Week 11 against the Chargers, where he had 6 catches, 3 touchdowns, 115 yards. Interestingly enough, okay, against Las Vegas, he had 33 points back in Week 5 when he pulled the Al Bundy, and he had 4 touchdowns. I remember he had a special tribute from Al Bundy himself, right? The actor, Ed O'Leary. Pretty special stuff. Al Bundy's paying you props. But I'm expecting, again, just an absolute duel between these two. Then you get all this funky stuff. I was saying before I used the word funky. Meant it more for these guys. If I can roll them here. Not switching it. Now, let me see if I can get the clip up there. Hold on 1 sec. All right, these guys here. Thing down. So I'm going to get off that video. And I want to slow down the broadcast. But Olave, for me. Dobbins. Well, I put in Dobbins for Mike Evans. Evans is supposed to play about a half a game for the Bucks. One of the things that you push the season to the last week and you deal with, right? Guys rest, teams clinch. Sometimes guys even get hurt and they don't want to risk them like Justin Fields. But on that screen, I had Deebo Samuel. I had Olave. I had Dobbins. I had Algier, the running back for the Falcons, who should flow into the mix of tomorrow's ball game. Pretty interesting. Interesting player that could go off. And he's been very, very good this year, and he's getting better and better. And you can bet he'll be a top pick next year, a top 20 pick. No doubt about that. Meanwhile, you get the quarterbacks. Talked about Geno, talked about Mahomes. Geno averaging 22 a game. Mahomes averaging 32 a game. He's number one amongst fantasy football quarterbacks. Geno, though, has been really solid. Number 5. Look at Geno drop it right into the receiver's arms. Geno's always had an arm. No doubt about that. 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 4,000 yards on the season. 70% of his passes he's completed. He's run for 300 yards and a touchdown on 65 carries, So he's been solid, Geno. He's given Seattle everything they could have hoped for in the post-Russell Wilson era. And he's even giving him a chance to go to the playoffs. So you've got an interesting final here with a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Of course, you got Jamar Chase. I expect big things from him. Unfortunately, that game got halted with the Hamlin devastating injury on Monday night, so you didn't get to see him in all his glory in prime time. I mentioned Watson. I've talked about him throughout the season. Watson's potentially one of the best wide receivers I think could be in football. I think his game has to mentally mature with his physical skills, but he can go off any given Sunday. So you've got a great batch of wide receivers for Polk. Algier is an up-and-coming running back. Zeke Elliott looked a little slow. That's the other running back for Polk, unless he makes a switch, right? If he wanted to make a switch, he's got the kid Herbert for Chicago. If you wanted to go that way, he's got Williams on the Redskins, who I don't think plays, right? So it's either the kid on Chicago, or he's got Moss also on Indianapolis, who plays Houston. But I don't think he's going to rip Ezekiel Elliott, because Zeke's probably better with half a game, even though he might rest 2, with him and Pollard. Pollard's supposed to come into the mix, but they're playing Washington, and Dallas got nothing to play for. So I would think you got a similar dilemma with Zeke as you do with me and Mike Evans. Evans is going to take on Atlanta. He's not getting 73. I'm hoping he gets a half of football in him, but a half of football, Mike Evans is probably better than 90% of most, maybe 75% of most wide receivers out there in football. And London's another player to watch out for Atlanta that Polk has on his team. Now, my team, it comes down to, like I said, Mahomes, Kelsey, and really McCaffrey. McCaffrey was my top pick this year in the draft. Now, the 49ers have a chance to clinch the number 1 outright in the NFC if a few things happen, right? They're going to keep their eye on the Philly game. Philly needs to beat the Giants. They both play at the same time. That's a late game Sunday. As I mentioned earlier, I got the 2 guys going tomorrow night. Polk only has the defense. Then most of the guys going for Polk, the majority are late game on Sunday. I've got the majority going early. It's going to be interesting, too, because if Polk does go Debo, then you would have Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey. I'm sticking with Ayuk. You'd have 4 49ers in that game on Sunday against Arizona. So there's lots of different things you can shake and bake. Of course, I'm going to look for Miles Sanders to have a big game. He had 144 yards in his last great game and a couple of scores against the Giants about 4 weeks ago. Mentioned Ayuk. Lavi I mentioned, who lost my fingers. He was a big guy against Polk. I think he was. Let me take a look for you guys. Was he a big guy? No, I'm wrong on that. He only had 7 against Polk. I thought he did better. But Olavi, I'm going to roll the dice on. I think he's going to be an outstanding wide receiver. Next year, doesn't matter right now, but Olavi's going to be great. Like Algier, like the running back on the Falcons. Next year, they're going to be prime time. As for Polk High School, we've shown this a couple times this year. Yep, look at Bundy fighting for his life in Lower Uncton. thought they were going to Upper Uncton, won their trip, but they wound up spending time in Lower Uncton, and they almost got killed, the whole family. Polka's had an outstanding run, 7 games over 500, 2 championships, 7 playoff appearances, 5 top 3 finishes in his 11 seasons. So believe me, I am not taking Polk lightly. I'm not taking anyone lightly. I'm friggin' happy to be here. It's not a yearly occurrence. Like I said, this is only my 2nd final, only my 3rd playoff. So I'm grateful to be here. And I think it's like that saying, right? You dance with the date that you brung to the dance. That's it. I once that waiver wire, plucked a couple of guys just in case for precautionary measures, but it looks like Homer Simpson's refrigerator. Or a refrigerator that make Homer panic. Waiver wire is just slim pickings. So this is what you got. Your lineup, for me, that I've set most of the season, and the guys I've relied to get here, I think it's been a little bit of different path for Polk, as I've highlighted. He's had to do some patchwork along the way, but that's what has gotten him here. So 2 different roads travel to the same place. With that said, only one team can walk away a winner. And this is going to be pretty good because I know Polk a long time, and he always finds a way, but it's going to be a battle. I'll say that much, right? It's going to be a battle. There you got it right there. Polk High, Nutztown Destroyers. League de Nutz Final 2022. 5-point favorite for yours truly. My fingers, my toes, everything is crossed. I'm going to hope for the best and come back next week and talk about it one way or another. Of course, I want to salute again all the teams out there who competed in the playoffs, especially the ABs. Just a crappy way to end. Fox, a great run. Del Rey, Smash, everyone. Great year. Parity on through to the final week. I think we had 10 teams alive going into the last week. And just about everyone was 7-7 or, a game over 500 or a game under 500. And you only had 3 teams. You had 3 openings for the playoffs in the last week. No, not 10 teams. I think you had 7 teams alive for those final 3 playoff berths. So, again, it was a competitive season. A lot of fun. One more thing to do before I get out of here. And that is this. Money. Sent out a note the other day. Please do send your League de Nutz fee. I've been able to get 7 of the 12 payments. So we need the rest to come in so you can pay team that finishes runner-up, team that finishes as the title team, either Polk or yours truly, pay them their respective winnings, right? So it should be fun this weekend. Did my best to talk about it each and every weekend again. I wish myself the best of luck. I wish Polk the best of luck. 12 teams enter. Only 2 teams make it to the final weekend. 1 team leaves as the champion, and it should be a great championship weekend. I'll catch you next week on This Week in League de Nutz. We'll see who comes up with the Nutz Cup for 2022. Adios.